Hi, we're going to move ahead in the syllabus to cover grades, just so that I can keep grades in one separate video. Hopefully you're not thinking at this point, after watching 3 videos, that I don't trust students. I've just found that making a good syllabus and explaining it well makes a huge difference in the class performance, which means I can spend more time later instructing and way less time arguing with students about grades and similar issues. It would be great if everyone was like you and was here to learn, be responsible, and honest. And most of the class is, but unfortunately, picky rules have to be made to deal with the exceptions, the students that don't want to deal with things the way they should be dealt with in a college class. So a lot of what you're hearing in these videos is my way of dealing with the exceptions. Now, when I bring up the page in the syllabus, I just want to remind you that you're not going to be looking at your syllabus. Please open and read your syllabus. Please do not turn in anything more than a week before the due date. This is a college level class, not a correspondence course where you just turn in things, as you feel like it. Feedback will be given on most assignments, and then the feedback is required to be applied to future assignments. Feedback will appear near your grades in Canvas. The feedback will either be written in like a comment section, or it will be audio, in which case there'll be a play button, or it could be inside the rubric. It's very easy to tell where this is in Canvas, but typically I will reach out to the class either in person or via email after the first time I give feedback on an assignment to make sure that you found it. Quiz question. Please do not turn in work more than 1 week early because many assignments receive instructor feedback. Not applying the feedback received to future assignments has a blank impact on your grades. Answer is major. All work must be turned in properly within the time allowed. I do not accept work via email unless a prior arrangement has been made, typically some type of an excused absence. I, your instructor, do not accept assignments via blank unless prior arrangements have been made. The answer is email. Grades are posted in Canvas usually within a week of the due date, often much quicker. You are required to check your grades in Canvas at least once a week, twice is better. Let me know of any mistakes or issues right away, usually within a couple days, because some grades are hard to prove after a bit of time goes by, such as in-class progress or feedback checks. In Canvas, you will find the link to grades over here. When you look at your grades in Canvas, it does not count things against you that are not yet due. Thus, the grades in Canvas are very accurate for determining your success level in the class at any given moment. This is in the syllabus, not yours, but an example. Your grades will be determined by the following formula. Projects count as 40% of your grade. Preparations, which includes reading, writing, progress checks, and quizzes, comes out to 30% of your grade. What I'm calling QA, which includes short quizzes, check-ins, self-assessments, and similar, accounts for 10% of your grade, and the final project is 20%. Projects should be pretty obvious what a project is. It's that thing that if you were taking an in-person class, you would put up on the wall at a certain point, and we would do a critique on it. I will grade your assignments based on these percentage numbers given. So for example, a project will be graded out of 40 points. A preparation will be graded out of 30 points. And the final project will be counted out of 20 points, which confuses people sometimes because they say, well, how come I'm only getting 20 points for the final project? It's not a point-based system that I'm using. It's a percentage-based system. And I'm going to give you a breakdown on the grades later, which will make that crystal clear if it's not already. It's important to be realistic with yourself about grades. Something that is average is supposed to be a C, which means if we put everybody's work up on the wall and you looked at yours and said, yeah, mine's in there, it's average, you really should only get a C on that because it's average. I'm going to talk more about that in a second, though. On a project, it's hard to get an A in my class. It should really be good. Follow every step of the instructions. And also, since we're teaching very practical things here, it should be like portfolio or almost portfolio or client ready. Projects have rubrics. However, they are real world graded, not just points. So if you get a 36 out of 40 on a project, which is 90%, that's great. Be very happy with that. Don't say, why did I miss 4 points? Even though it'll probably be obvious in the rubric. However, an A in the class is certainly achievable. So if you're worried about your GPA, don't. If you're a good student, you typically will get a good grade in my class. And one way to bring your grades up, like let's say you're nervous, you say, oh, I don't know anything about this creative stuff yet. I'm just kind of taking this as a general thing, but I don't want it to hurt my GPA. Feedback and process checks are a great way to bring your grade up. The reason is I give you a 90% or an A grade just for doing the absolute minimum on a process check. If you do more, you get more points. Now, why is that like extra credit? Because all you need at Saddleback College to get an A is 90%. So every project that you get better than a 90% on, and I should say every project and or assignment or whatever it is that you get better than a 90% on, you're essentially banking points to help you keep that A should you do less than great on something else. And I will do my best to make it obvious what the minimum requirement is versus how you could get those extra points on any given process or feedback check. So just read in here if you want more information or a good example of that. And there's usually a rubric for the process or feedback check that further explains what I just talked about. To calculate a grade percentage from a number grade, just divide your grade by the total possible. So for example, if you received a 35 out of 40 on something, you put in your calculator, 35 divided by 40, and in this case you would get an answer of 87.5%, which is a high B. One of the most popular questions is, can I turn something in late? You don't have to ask that because I'm going to explain it. Late reductions apply unless you have an excused absence. Now, you can use student services or you can go to your doctor. This does not apply to a doctor appointment. Just don't make them during class, and I promise I will not do that either. What if you just wake up sick and you can't get proof that you weren't here? Are you going to get late points deducted? Yes. That falls under life is not fair. Goes back to, like I said, not everybody is here to do the right thing, and it just can't be proven, right? Now, if you're doing really good in the class and you turn in one thing late, is it going to screw up your whole grade? No. So that's why there's these built-in cushions along the way. So please do not email me about non-excused absences. I don't need to know that you're going to turn something in late. You just simply turn it in late. We're all adults. Put yourself in my shoes as someone who has to go by the syllabus. If you have a doctor excuse or an excuse from Student Health Services, then you will get the grace on turning that in late. Now, if not, it's still not the end of the world. If you turn in the project or any given assignment late, it's a 1 grade deduction. And that applies for the first entire week. So please remember this, whether you're 5 minutes late or 5 days late, the grade reduction is the same. So don't hurry up and turn in substandard work. Take your time to do the work like you should do it, then turn it in, then get caught up. Once 1 week past due happens, then there's a 2-grade reduction on the assignment. If we are meeting in person for this class, then the work must be turned in at the very start of class. And that is to entice you not to work on late stuff while we're going over new stuff. That just does not make any sense. After 2 weeks have passed, you can no longer turn in the assignment. And please know that I will not approach you for late work. That is your responsibility as someone who is learning how to get ready for the workforce at some point to turn things in on time. If not, turn them in within 2 weeks with the grade penalties. Unless an excused note from a healthcare provider gives a specific date range that goes beyond more than one class period, it will be assumed that that note excuses you for one class period of late work. And no work can be submitted beyond the last day of class, and computer/software problems do not count as an excuse for late work. At a very minimum, we have iMac computers available in the LRC, aka the library. One of the items that falls under the preparations, which are graded at 30 percentage points, are feedback checks and process checks, and just a couple specific notes about those. A feedback check, you can only get credit if you apply the feedback given to the next process check, if there is one, or to the project, whichever is applicable. So this means that if late, you will most likely have to be late with the next process check or project. However, 2 lates is way better than getting a 0 on one of them. Now, when it's a process check, which is just you show me where you're at on something, the grade reduction on those is 2 grades during the first week and 3 grades. So it's a higher reduction. And the reason is that those process checks are designed to keep you motivated and on track for the particular assignment or project that you're working on. And if you only received a 3-point deduction on something that's worth 30 points, you would still be getting an A for turning in something late that was just there in the first place to get you going the week before. So it just doesn't make sense for me to give you a high grade for missing something that is meant to be an easy A, staying on track. Extra credit. In short, I do not offer typical extra credit. I believe that extra credit just offers you a way to procrastinate and not do what you should be doing at the time. And I know a lot of instructors give extra credit. They'll let students do something that just makes no sense for the class. And what happens is you end up not learning the things that you're supposed to learn in the class. Now, this is just my opinion. But there is a way in my class that works like extra credit, and that is to do more than the minimum on the process checks and the feedback checks like we talked about earlier. And I just want to be clear that getting extra beyond the low A only applies to feedback checks and process checks. It does not apply to a project. So when you turn in the project, only turn in 1. Let's say you are just really determined to turn in more than 1 because you had a couple great solutions for the project and you want me to see them, then at a minimum you need to let me know which is your actual project. Which one do you want me to grade? Because otherwise it can seem like, oh, you're just throwing a bunch of stuff at me and hoping that I'll grade you the highest. Pick the one that's the best. Part of being in a class like this is you making that decision of what is your best work for a project. I do not round up grades. I know I've already said that. So please do not give me those sob stories like, oh, I'm trying to apply to another college, and if you would just be able to give me an A in your class, that would make all the difference in the world. Unfortunately, if you didn't earn the A, I don't feel good about giving it to you. You have access to your grades all semester long, so if an A grade or a B grade or whatever it is, or just a passing grade is what you need, then take that responsibility to check your grades twice a week and adjust so that you can get the grade that you need. Here's a big grade tip. Avoid zeros. Sometimes students incorrectly think that if they're falling behind on an assignment, it's better just to forget about it and put a lot of effort into the next one. That's bad mathematically, which I'm going to show you, but also skipping something in the class potentially hurts your knowledge of what you'll need for future things. So let's talk about this mathematically. Let's say that you have had 2 projects due so far, and you received an A, 36 out of 40 on the first one. You forgot to submit project 2 when it was due. You lost the file during the second week or whatever it was, and you think, oh, just forget about it now. I'm just going to make an awesome effort on project 3. So let's say that you do indeed get a perfect score on project 3. So you've got 36 points on the first one, 0 on the second one, the decision you made. 40 equals 76. If you divide that by 3, that means your average for projects right now is 25.3 out of 40, which is a failing grade of 63%. Now, let's look at the example again. If you turned in project 2, even 2 weeks late, and let's even say that it wasn't that great, that you got a 28 on it, and I had to remove 8 points for being 2 weeks late, so all you got was 20. And then let's even, to make this even more fair, let's say instead of getting 40 out of 40 on 3 like you did up here, you got 36 out of 40. So now you got 36 plus 20 on that project of concern here, plus 36 on the third one. That equals 92. If you divide that by 3, you're now at over 30 points, which is a high C average grade so far in your projects. So avoid zeros. The last section here will be how to calculate your grade. There's not going to be any quiz questions in here. So if you're overwhelmed about all this grade stuff and you only want to come back and watch this in the future, if you need it, I certainly understand if you want to stop watching the video here. Okay, so although Canvas will do this for you, if you want to calculate your grades manually, what you're going to do is add up all your projects and divide by the total number of projects. So this will be a number between 0 and 40. Go back to the syllabus and look at those grade breakdowns to see where I got this number 40 and then 30 and 10 and 20 from. Then next, you will add up all your preparation grades and divide by the number of preparation assignments. This number will be between 0 and 30, and that will be your total for preparations. Add up all your QA grades and divide by the number of QA assignments. This will be between 0 and 10. Your final project is worth 20 points. Now, I color coordinated this, not coordinated, but coded so that it'll make sense here when we add them up. So from your calculations above, you're simply just going to add the number that you came up with there. You're going to add projects to preparations to QA and your final project, and that will be your final grade. So here's an example. Let's just say we're somewhere early on in the semester, and you've only done 3 projects so far, and you received a 35, a 32, and a 36. That totals 103. If you add those 3 together, then you divide it by 3 because that's how many there were. Now, if you got a 0 on one, you have to put the 0 up here and include that in the number, which you'll see right here. So let's say there was 6 preparation grades so far, and you received a 27, a 23, and a 0, and a 27, and a 28, and a 30. You're going to add all those numbers up. You're going to get 135, and even though one of them had no grade, you don't just divide by the 5 grades that you had, you divide by the 6 preparations or 6 potentials for grade that there were. And in this case, 135 divided by 6 is 22.5. Then you go to your QAs, and let's say there was 2 so far, and you got a 6 out of 10 on one and a perfect 10 on the other. That equals 16, and you divide that by 2. And then let's say, because it's early in the semester, we haven't done the final project yet, but you just want to make a guess and think that you're really going to have things together by then, and you're going to get a 90% on it, and 90% out of 20 points is 18. So now you're going to take this, plus this, plus this, plus this, which is shown right here, and you're going to come up with 81.8. So that is now your total grade in the class, 81.8% out of a total of 100% potential. This is a low B. So if it's early in the class and you want to get an A by the end of it, know that you're going to have to turn things around on your upcoming projects and preparations, because if you keep averaging in the low B range, and then even if you do get a perfect score on the final project, that's only 2 more points. Change that to a 20 and add it, still comes up to a B. And that concludes our grading welcome video.